You're watching Study with Sudhir. This is your digital classroom. My name is T.S. Sudhir. Ustad Bismillah Khan, Bharat Ratna, clearly one of the most celebrated exponents of Hindustani classical music, the man who gave Shehnai its place of pride in world music. This is a chapter, the Shehnai of Bismillah Khan is a chapter in Beehive, which is the English textbook for class 9 CBSE students. And it's a very interesting story, the life and times of Bismillah Khan. And I'm sure you would find it very fascinating to know how his music evolved, how the Shehnai, the instrument that he played, evolved, and how he kind of lived by this in the city of Varanasi by the river Ganga and the role of the river Ganga in his life, in his music, right? So let's start with the chapter Emperor Aurangzeb, and this is about the history of the instrument itself, which is also a very fascinating story in itself. Emperor Aurangzeb banned the playing of a musical instrument called pungi in the royal residence because it had a very shrill and unpleasant sound. Now, if you go to the next page, you will know what the pungi looks like. This is basically what snake charmers use in order to get the snake to sway to the music. But basically the sound many would find a little unpleasant, a little irritating as it were, and therefore it was banned. The pungi became therefore a generic name for reeded noisemakers. Reeded, the word basically means instruments which have holes in them, and noisemakers, basically any musical instrument which would kind of evoke and create an unpleasant kind of sound or music or noise. And few had thought that this pungi would actually be revived one day or the other. In fact, there is a phrase or a muhavra in Hindi which says pungi bajana is basically, it means to create trouble. Okay. A barber of a family of professional musicians who had access to the royal palace decided to improve the tonal quality of this pungi. Okay, so it's very interesting that it is not professional musicians who decided to kind of work on how to improve the pungi, but a barber who did that. And he chose a pipe with a natural hollow stem that was longer and broader than the pungi. So in terms of diameter, it was more broad, and made 7 holes on the body of the pipe. When he played on it, closing and opening some of these holes, soft and melodious sounds were produced. And he played the instrument before the royalty, and everyone was impressed. The instrument, so different from the pungi, had to be given a new name, because pungi obviously because of the ban on it, obviously did not find any kind of acceptance among the people, especially among the musicians. So the story goes, okay, this is the tale around the name of the Shehnai, that since it was played for the first time in the Shah's chamber, Shah is a generic name again for a king, and was played by a Nai, that is a barber, Nai being the Hindi name for a barber. The instrument was named as the Shehnai. It is also known as the Shehnai is basically known as the flute for a king. Okay, that's another way of describing the Shehnai also, right? A flute fit for the king, played in the king's court or the Shah's court. Now, the sound of the Shehnai began to be considered auspicious, quite different from the kind of response that was given to the pungi. The Shehnai, because of the kind of sound it emanated, was deemed to be auspicious, and therefore it started to get played during festive occasions, during auspicious occasions. And for this reason, it is still played in temples and is an indispensable component of any North Indian wedding. In the past, the Shehnai was part of the Naubat, or the traditional ensemble of 9 instruments found at royal courts. It was given its pride of place. Till recently, it was used only in temples and weddings. The credit for bringing this instrument onto the classical stage goes to Ustad Bismillah Khan. In fact, when I was a child, and I'm talking about 30 to 40 odd years ago, you would have on Independence Day, Republic Day, Doordarshan would start the morning with a Shehnai recital of Ustad Bismillah Khan. So that's how the important occasion of Independence Day and Republic Day would actually begin, right? And it's also very interesting that while the Shehnai is seen as a North Indian musical instrument, there is also the South Indian version of the Shehnai, as it were, which is called the Nadaswaram, which is longer than the Shehnai, okay, and it has 12 holes as opposed to the 7 holes in the Shehnai. It has 12 holes, 6 for playing and 6 for regulating the pitch of the Nadaswaram. And again, like the Shehnai, the Nadaswaram is used for playing in temple music, also an indispensable part of South Indian weddings. Though many would think that the Shehnai also has a slightly soulful and some would say even a mournful kind of a musical quality to it, but basically it's a very popular folk musical instrument. Now as a 5-year-old, now let's come to Bismillah Khan. Now as a 5-year-old, Bismillah Khan played Gilli Danda. Many of you would be familiar with the sport of Gilli Danda. There is a small wooden piece and a longer wooden piece with which you hit the gilli, and it kind of, the distance that it covers is how you measure the winner and decide on the winner, and a very popular sport. Okay. Near a pond in the ancient estate of Dumrao in Bihar. So he essentially hailed from the state of Bihar. He would regularly go to the nearby Bihariji temple to sing the Bhojpuri Chaita, at the end of which he would earn a big laddu weighing 1.25 kg, a prize given by the local Maharaja. So you're talking about a time and different kind of an era, as it were, during which he was growing up. This happened 80 years ago, and the little boy has travelled far to earn the highest civilian honour award in India, the Bharat Ratna. Now he was born in 1916, 21st of March. Bismillah belonged to a well-known family of musicians. So he belonged to a musician family, as a result of which there was a natural affinity and interest in music. His grandfather Rasul Baks Khan was the Shehnai Nawaz of the Bhojpur King's court. So he was came from a family of, was born into a family of musicians which was used to playing the Shehnai at the Bhojpur King's court. His father Paigambar Baks and other paternal ancestors were also great Shehnai players. But it was Bismillah Khan who put it on the world stage. Now the young boy took to music early in life. At the age of 3, when his mother took him to his maternal uncle's house in Benares or Varanasi, which is in Uttar Pradesh, Bismillah was fascinated watching his uncles practice the Shehnai. Soon Bismillah started accompanying his uncle Ali Baks to the Vishnu temple of Banaras, where Baks was employed to play the Shehnai. So you see, the patrons of this musical instrument were basically the temples, and of course the weddings, but mainly the temples, where they would be paid an amount in order to play this musical instrument, because it was seen as apt for auspicious and festive occasions. Ali Baks would play the Shehnai and Bismillah would sit captivated. Captivated means completely enthralled, completely taken over by the quality of that music for hours on end. Slowly he started getting lessons in playing the instrument and would sit practicing throughout the day. For years to come, the temple of Balaji and Mangala Maya and the banks of the Ganga became the young apprentice favorite haunts, where he would practice in solitude. The flowing waters of the Ganga inspired him to improvise and invent ragas that were earlier considered to be beyond the range of the Shehnai. So he started elevating the musical quality of the Shehnai. Apprentice essentially means someone who is still learning, an intern of sorts, and he would practice for hours at end. In the sense, you see the an atmosphere which is there on the banks of the Ganga, Varanasi, the holy city of Varanasi, and that's where he would practice playing the Shehnai. At the age of 14, Bismillah accompanied his uncle to the Allahabad Music Conference. Now Allahabad is the place which is now known as Prayagraj, where you see the confluence of the 3 rivers Ganga, Yamuna and the invisible Saraswati. At the end of his recital, Ustad Fayaz Khan patted the young boy's back and said, "Work hard and you shall make it." So someone recognizing the potential and the talent of this young boy Bismillah. With the opening of the All India Radio in Lucknow in 1938, that is, we are still talking about pre-independence India, came Bismillah's big break. He soon became an often heard Shehnai player on radio, because radio in those days was really seen as the place where a lot of upcoming talent could actually showcase their work, and All India radio station at Lucknow became one such opportunity, a huge opportunity for Bismillah Khan to show how good a Shehnai player he was. When India gained independence on the 15th of August 1947, Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to greet the nation with the Shehnai, which is what I said. Even for many years later also, Ustad Bismillah Khan would be the one who would play the Shehnai on Independence Day, also sometimes on Republic Day. He poured his heart out into Rag Kafi from the Red Fort to an audience which included Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who later gave his famous Tryst with Destiny speech. Now, Bismillah Khan has given many memorable performances both in India and abroad. His first trip abroad was to Afghanistan, where King Zahir Shah was so taken in by the maestro that he gifted him priceless Persian carpets and other souvenirs. Souvenirs as in gifts given to someone, to a guest. The King of Afghanistan was not the only one to be fascinated with Bismillah's music. Film director Vijay Bhatt was so impressed after hearing Bismillah play at a festival that he named a film after the instrument called Goonj Uthi Shehnai. So you realize that Bismillah Khan was not only putting India on the world map, pretty apt that just like the word Shehnai originated, that he went to the king's court in Afghanistan in order to showcase his talent with the Shehnai. Also, the fact that Hindi cinema also started getting kind of impressed with the quality of the music that Bismillah Khan was producing. The film was a hit, and one of Bismillah Khan's composition, Dil Ka Khilona Hai Toot Gaya, turned out to be a nationwide chartbuster. In fact, the song, even if you heard it today and if you ask your parents about it or your grandparents about it, they would definitely recall this particular song in which Bismillah Khan composed this particular song, and it was sung by Lata Mangeshkar. Dil ka khilona hai toot gaya, Dil ka khilona hai toot gaya. That's how the song goes, and it was a major chartbuster. Despite this huge success in the world of cinema, Hindi cinema, Bismillah Khan's ventures into film music were largely restricted. They were limited only to this one in Goonj Uthi Shehnai and Vikram Srinivas' Kannada venture Sannadhi Appanna. I hope I am pronouncing it right. I just can't come to terms with the artificiality and the glamour of the film world. Now, this is an important quote which I would suggest you remember, because you can use it in your answers, and they always lend weight to the quality of your answer, because as I said, it kind of shows the examiner that this particular student, this particular child is familiar with the text, that he actually remembers, he or she remembers the text very well. So please remember these kind of important quotes which you can include in your answers. Awards and recognition came thick and fast. Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to be invited to perform at the prestigious Lincoln Center Hall in the United States of America. He also took part in the World Exposition in Montreal, at the Cannes Art Festival, at the Osaka Trade Fair. So popular he was that an auditorium in Tehran was named after him, Tahar Mosik Ustad Bismillah Khan. So you need to know the accolades and the recognition that Bismillah Khan received, because that can be a straight question as to what were the different kind of recognitions, awards and accolades that Ustad Bismillah Khan received. Thereafter, the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, the Padma Vibhushan, and finally the Bharat Ratna in 2001. With the coveted award resting on his chest and his eyes glinting with rare happiness, I can tell you Bismillah Khan had a fantastic and a very warm smile that came directly from his heart. You know, you could see the smile in his eyes. That was something, a very special quality that Bismillah Khan had about him. All he had to say was, teach your children music. This is another quote you need to remember. Teach your children music. This is Hindustan's richest tradition. Even the West is now coming to learn our music. So the pride that he took in India's Hindustani classical music, okay, and wanting to spread it across the world. But even while he wanted to spread it across the world, there was a bit of a different position that Bismillah Khan had as far as going outside India, or rather outside Varanasi itself was concerned. Now, that's what the next point is all about. Point number 12, as he is fondly called, Khan Sahab is exceedingly fond of Banaras and Dumrao, the place he hailed from, and they remain for him the most wonderful towns of the world. A student of his wanted him to head a Shehnai school in the USA, and he promised to recreate the atmosphere of Benares by replicating the temples there. But Khan Sahib asked him if he would be able to transport river Ganga as well to the USA, right? And later he is remembered to have said, that is why whenever I am in a foreign country, I keep yearning to see Hindustan, that he misses his homeland, his country. While in Mumbai, I think of Benares. So even when he is in Mumbai, not even outside of India, even when he goes to Mumbai, he misses Benares. And when he is in Benares, he misses the unique matha of Dumrao. So basically showing him to be a very homesick kind of a person who kind of is in love and most comfortable in his own kind of patch, in his own territory, in his hometown. Now, he was asked during an interview that why didn't he and his family ever think of moving to Pakistan during the partition in 1947. And this is what he said, God forbid me leave Benares. So for him, Benares, which is otherwise associated with very strong Hindu religion because of the number of temples there, and of course now it's Prime Minister Narendra Modi's constituency as well. Never. I went to Pakistan once. I crossed the border just to say that I have been to Pakistan. I was there for just about an hour. I said namaskar to the Pakistanis and salam alaikum to the Indians. I had a good laugh. Ustad Bismillah Khan's life is a perfect example of the rich cultural heritage of India. And this is an important paragraph, right? One that effortlessly accepts that a devout Muslim like him can very naturally play the Shehnai every morning at the Kashi Vishwanath temple in Varanasi. And that, I think, is the beauty of secular India, right? He passed away in August 2006 at the age of 90 after a prolonged illness, right? So that is about Ustad Bismillah Khan. Shehnai as an instrument, you should also know that it's an instrument that calls for tremendous amount of breath control, right? If your lung capacity is not good enough, if you are not well practiced enough in the way you kind of regulate your breathing, you would not be able to do justice to the playing of the Shehnai. And basically, you need that breath control for sustained melodic passage and maintaining a fast tempo. That's what the Shehnai is all about. One of the most popular folk instruments and something which Ustad Bismillah Khan put on the world music map. So that's as far as this very interesting story about the Shehnai of Ustad Bismillah Khan, which is part of the CBSE class 9 English syllabus. I hope you have enjoyed it. I hope you have also been enlightened about the cultural heritage and history of India. I find it very, very fascinating. We'll continue to do the entire CBSE class 9 English syllabus. So do stay tuned to Study with Sudhir for the entire English syllabus, and this will be explained in simple English, which will make it easier for you to attempt the answers in the examination. Thank you very much. God bless you.